because there was only one station in America that played rap music. And that was a little 5,000 watt station on the top of Alvarado Street called K-Day. Greg Mack and the Mack Attack, the Mixmasters with Julio G. Nobody else played rap music in America. So, you know, I didn't have to worry about the music part of it. But we would take, Eazy and I would take, we would take a record over to Greg Mack and Julio G. They would listen to it. They'd say, well, man, you got to take out this motherfucker and you got to take this out. We go back to Eazy's and reverse it or do whatever had to be done, bring it back, and they'd put it on the air. And even though it was only a 5,000 watt station, we would get orders for 40,000 records the next day. So I always wondered about that. You know, it was a combination probably of the mall becoming the social center of urban America. All of a sudden everybody had a cell phone. So you called a friend of yours in his car and you heard what he was playing. You'd say, what's that? And, you know, things were changing. We were looking for alternatives to the traditional way of breaking records, which was airplay. So we didn't depend on airplay at all. In fact, K-Day, you could be listening to Straight Outta Compton and go through the Cahuenga Pass, and then the country western station, you'd be listening to Straight Outta Compton, and then right on top of it, you'd hear You Gotta Know When to Hold 'Em and Know When to Fold 'Em, you know, a Kenny Rogers record. So it was really an exciting, different, trend-setting period in American music, which I loved and which I had always loved because I had been in rock and roll at the beginning, I had been in folk rock at the beginning, I had been in new wave at the beginning, I had been in punk at the beginning, and had represented most of the biggest acts in the world. I mean, this electronic music that they play now, I brought a group here in 1974 from Germany called Kraftwerk, who were the fathers of electronic music. They made all their own instruments. And it's funny because in 1974 I brought them here on my American Express card, and they didn't do any business anywhere. It was just before their time. But there is an electronic artist in the world today that doesn't, you know, say that Kraftwerk was their influence.
Going back to the Ruthless and Eazy moment that you were talking about, saying that you didn't have much to do with the music aspect of it, more on the marketing side of things. A lot of people would consider you the pioneer of the whole West Coast rap movement. How would you feel about that?
Well, I think that's very true. I think that Eazy said a couple of things that were interesting. First of all, he said, NWA is me, Dre, Ella, and Jerry Heller. So really, that was an important way for him to look at it. On the other hand, he said in the beginning that Dre musicalizes, Eazy conceptualized, Ice-Cube verbalized, and Jerry financialized. So that was really the founding of Ruthless Records, and that's how we built Ruthless Records. I mean, Eazy was a visionary, and probably, in my estimation, the single most important conceptualizer of the entire rap era. As far as music goes, I mean, it's hard not to say that Dr. Dre, you know, you cannot underemphasize his importance. He did world-class Wrecking Crew, he did NWA, he did The Chronic, he did the DOC, he did Michelet, which was the first R&B record ever done to hip-hop tracks. He did The Game, he did Eminem. I mean, this guy since 1986, I mean, he certainly musically is the most important factor of the entire rap era. And, you know, he and I aren't the best of friends, but I give him his props, man. This guy is for, let's see, 86, 28 years, been at the very top of his game. I give him nothing but credit, man.
If we fast forward to the falling out of NWA, what would you say was the biggest influence in that separation factor?
Well, there was a couple of things. You know, there were two different aspects of that. First of all, there was cube leaving, and that really was meaningless as far as NWA was concerned, because NWA did Ethel for Zaggin after that and 100 Miles from Running. So that really meant nothing. He left because Priority enabled him to do his own solo record, and he was very jealous of Eazy. You know, he was younger, a lot younger than the other guys were. Now, as far as Dre goes, that's a different story. That had to do with Suge Knight, and there were a lot of different aspects there. And, you know, that changed the whole focus of Ruthless. So after Dre left, we had to start looking for other things. And of course, Eazy came up with Bone Thugs and Harmony, who were one of the biggest selling acts of all time.
Some say that, you know, you mentioned Suge Knight, that he was actually a really big factor in the falling off of NWA. I read in XXL where the situation just escalated to where Eazy almost wanted to take him out.
Yeah, I think that's true. He came in my office one day, or I walked in one day real early, and he was there with our head of security. And I said, "What are you guys doing here so early? What are you talking about?" And Eazy said, "You know, this guy Suge Knight's going to be a problem." He said, "And I think that I'm going to take him out." And I said, "Well, let's just think about this for a second. We're doing $10 million a month. We have 6 employees. I said, we're making more money than anyone could ever believe, and you want to talk about killing some guy that you think is going to be a problem?" I said, "That doesn't make any sense to me. Does that make any sense to you?" And I talked him out of it. You know, in retrospect, you know, probably if things would have been different and I wouldn't have been there, he may have done it, and Dre would have still been with Ruthless.
The success that you had with Eazy also helped form the foundation for the successes of Priority Records and Interscope. And a lot of people have really admired your business savvy, your intellect. From then till now, Mr. Heller, what do you think is what do you think the hip hop game is lacking? Because they said they're taking in another direction, and had Heller been the most important person as part of the music now, everything would have been different. What's your opinion?
Well, now you're talking about two different things, okay? I think that rap is over. Rap has become pop. Rap and country are the new pop. So I don't even think about rap, because yeah, there's a good record every once in a while, Kendrick Lamar, a little Wayne, you know, but as a movement, rap is over. Hip hop is something totally different. Remember, hip hop encompasses other things than music. It's graffiti artists in New York in the 50s, and spray painters, guys that spray painted subways. You know, it entails something far greater than just music. I think the movement that now that I'm involved in, which is going to be the movement of this decade, is Latino hip hop. I think that's where it's at.